I'm going next to Sadiq, who's calling from Ilford. Good evening, Sadiq.
Good evening, Nigel. Nigel, just a few minutes ago, and nothing new for you, to be honest, perfectly honest, is you told an absolute blatant whopper.
Oh, gosh. I'm looking forward to this. Right, what did I do?
Yeah, you said Saudi Arabia have taken not a single refugee from Syria. And the Gulf states haven't. And when in fact just a cursory bit of research will tell you that they've taken over 2 million
from where?
Refugees from Syria around there. And
when?
The fact is that they don't call them refugees, Nigel.
Right.
They call them citizens in Saudi Arabia, so to not make them feel inferior. So, and you know that for a fact, Nigel, whatever. But you keep telling these whopping lies because your audience laps it up.
So see, it really is utterly fascinating because you are.
And it's just like your bus. It's just like your, your queue. Getting into the country during the referendum that you used.
Absolutely.
And you used all those brown faces and whatever, have you? So, Nigel...
Well, what should I have done?
Your audience will lap it up.
What should I have done? Should I have pretended that wasn't happening? Should I have ignored it? I mean, what I was talking about...
Well, address the lie first, Nigel. Address the lie first.
Sadiq,
address the lie first.
I am not aware.
Just a cursory.
They have not taken. They have not taken. I know, and you'd find out, Sadiq, that actually the Saudi Arabian regime have said we are not taking any refugees from
Nigel,
Syria.
They don't call them refugees. That's the difference, Nigel.
And the same goes. The same goes for half.
Nigel,
and the same goes.
Nigel, address
no lie at all. They've taken not a single refugee. And back to your point.
Well, to the audience, please go and do your research because Nigel is lying once more.
Oh, I've been saying this now. I've been saying this for a long, long time, and I think I'm right and you're wrong, but it's been great fun, Sadiq, and let me just answer the last point you made. You know, that poster showing the madness that was happening in Europe as a result of the failed policies of Juncker and Merkel is exactly...
Brown faces, Nigel. Brown faces, Nigel.
Well, I could have whitened them out, couldn't I? So are you suggesting that I change the colour of people's faces? Is that really what you're suggesting?
Well, Nigel, you see what it is.
You don't like the truth, do you? You don't like the truth. You don't like the truth, do you? The fact is, your lie about Saudi Arabia. So your lie about Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states. So tell me, what is your source for this? What is your source for this?
Sorry.
What is your source for this?
Just do a cursory research on research. And the Saudi Arabian ambassador himself made the speech.
I think this is fake. I think this is fake news, Sadiq. But
really?
it's been fun.
Nigel, your middle name is fake. Your middle name is fake.
Well, I tell you what. I've been getting away with it for a long time then, haven't I? I must be quite good at it, really, mustn't I? Sadiq, thank you for that charming, fascinating, factual call. The Saudi Arabian Independent, in September 2016, said that Saudi Arabia has issued residency permits for 100,000 Syrians, though it has not formally accepted anyone actually classed as a refugee. So, to begin with, Sadiq, I don't know where you got your figure of 2 million from. I mean, that was fake news. But the important thing is, clearly, they've taken 100,000 middle-class people who've got lots of money, who've gone in to Saudi Arabia, are able to buy properties, etc. They haven't taken anyone poor. They haven't taken anyone that's cold or is suffering. I'll ask Mehdi in Tower Hamlets whether the Swedish Prime Minister has got this right and whether this U-turn is sincere.
Hi, Nigel. I think Swedish Prime Minister got it absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
Purely because this is what the terrorists want. And just like terrorists, this is what people like you, who peddle racism in the society, want as well.
Do I?
You support... Yes, you do. You support a nasty Marine Le Pen. You think she's nasty.
I've been neutral. I've been absolutely neutral on the subject.
You do support her.
Do I? Well, why? Well, this is interesting, isn't it? So I don't sit with the Front National in the European Parliament. I haven't for the last 18 years. I know Marine Le Pen because we're both MEPs in the same Parliament, but I'm not an overt public supporter of hers. Not that I'm aware of, Mehdi. I mean, you're telling me things I don't know.
Well, he did say on this radio station about Marine Le Pen. It'd be fantastic that she win in France.
I didn't say that, but I did say you'd be a fool if you said she couldn't win in France. And that I did say, and I have said, Mehdi, to be fair, I have said that she's a marked improvement upon her father, and she's taken the party in a much more satisfactory direction.
She's still a racist, Nigel.
Is she?
She's still a racist.
Why is she
Party is a racist party.
What? Tell me. Explain to me. Explain to all the people listening. Why is she a racist? Explain it to us.
Why do you think she is? Does she hate Muslims?
No, actually, if you listen, I interviewed her for this show, and it was played a couple of weeks ago, and I was very specific, very specific, and go to lbc.co.uk, and you can see that interview, you can listen to that interview, Mehdi, or anybody else that's interested. I asked her very much about this, and there is a prominent politician in Europe, in the form of Geert Wilders in the Netherlands, who wants to go to war against the entire religion of Islam. He wants the mosques bulldozed, he wants the Quran banned in the Netherlands, and he wants the religion to be outlawed. And I have to say, Mehdi, I find that unacceptable and crazy and a plan that will never work. That is not what Marine Le Pen is saying, and I really don't see how this charge, I mean, her father, you could make the charge, is racist. He said some things that clearly, overtly are. I honestly don't think you've given me one reason to think that Marine Le Pen is racist.
Well, is she not? Is she against burqa? Does she think that Quran is a barbaric? Does she think that?
Well, I mean, she has not opined heavily on it, but she's worried about some of the latter parts of the Quran, aren't you?
No, I'm not. I'm not. Do you know why? Because if you look at the Muslims, I'm a Muslim myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
A tiny minority of Muslims are doing what they're doing. You're labeling them as a Muslim terrorist because what you really want people to believe that Islam is at fault. But whereas if they're terrorists, they don't belong to a religion, Nigel.
Well, the trouble with this argument, Mehdi, the trouble with this argument is this, that there are lots of people like you who say, not in my name, this is not what the religion of Islam is all about. The trouble is the people who are doing the awful things believe themselves that they are doing it in the name of Islam. And I agree with you. It may be a tiny percentage, but goodness me, look at the problems that it's causing, right across Europe. I mean, we've almost got to the point, Mehdi, where a terrorist atrocity is just a sort of everyday part of life that we hear on the news from somewhere in Europe, and we almost expect it to happen.
But it's not terrorism. It's not religion, though. It has nothing to do with religion. Have you ever called an IRA Christian terrorist? Have you condemned what's going on in Burma? Have you ever condemned?
Yes, I think it's absolutely dreadful, and I'm very, very surprised that Aung San Suu Kyi doesn't say more about it. Mehdi, I'm sorry, I know you want to have a real punch-up with me over this, and you want to call me racist and Le Pen racist, and you want to accuse us of wanting to wipe out the faith. We don't, but we do want to get tough with the terrorists, and we do want deeper integration. But I thank you for your call.
And from New York, Ann Coulter, the Conservative commentator who may well be the reason Trump tweeted this. She is one of only 45 people he follows on Twitter, and she tweeted one of those Britain First videos just before he did. Ann Coulter, did you know that what these videos were was fake news, effectively, that they weren't what they purported to be, and that they were being tweeted by a vile hate group?
I did not know they, to this moment, have been proved to be fake. Have you done an investigation of the Dutch boy being kicked by the Muslim?
The tweet said it was a migrant Muslim, and there is absolutely no evidence found that it was either a migrant or a Muslim. Do you know that he?
Yeah. So, okay, this is the old. No, this is the old.
Okay, so it's the usual. You have no evidence for what you tweeted. Okay, fine.
No, that isn't proving it false.
We've established
if you produce evidence that it's false,
evidence.
I will be happy. We have established that you have no evidence.
You were the one who was tweeting it.
Well, if it's false, I'll say that it's false. But you can't just say, oh, you haven't proved it, therefore it's false. Well, if only you had a multi-million-dollar news investigation bureau behind you, and maybe you could find out. But no, this idea that we won't count how many Muslims are committing crimes, we won't count how many immigrants are committing crimes, and therefore
we're off the point now. Don't worry about that.
Says anything
Rupert
about
Huck, Why does this matter? Can you explain to Ann Coulter why it matters that the president is tweeting this stuff?
Look, these people have scant regard for facts. They don't ever fact-check their stuff. I think it's appalling, it's unacceptable, it shouldn't go unchallenged. And the thing is, these kind of things have consequences. So, I mean, yesterday in the House of Commons, we launched Islamophobia Awareness Month. And every time these kind of things happen, you hear of hijabs being ripped off girls, you hear of, you know, even grandfathers coming home from the mosque at midnight. In some cases, you know, we've had deaths from these.
Britain bans hate preachers.
Have consequences.
Britain bans hate preachers. It's banned people from America in the past.
Yeah.
Should Donald Trump be allowed here?
No, he shouldn't. And already that visit has been downgraded. It was going to be a state visit. It's now going to be a visit. Whatever it is, we shouldn't be rolling out the red carpet, any coloured carpet. Even if he comes on a visit, he will still be in Downing Street. He'll still be flying the flag. It's completely unacceptable. This man is noxious, and his presence in this country is not conducive to harmonious race relations.
And Coulter, you see the reaction here. The truth is that this is exactly what you want in America, though, isn't it? Because Donald Trump was tweeting this for his own immigration campaign in America rather than the effect in Britain.
No, the same way you're commenting on American politics right now. Every once in a while, Americans are interested in what's happening in Britain. I don't think it is about his domestic politics. Again, you haven't established this is untrue. It certainly seems to be true. We are in the middle of an avalanche of massive violence by Muslims screaming out Allahu Akbar. Certainly, I'm not in favor of hijabs being ripped off, but I think it's a little bit worse to be blown up in the tube or shot up at nightclubs in New York, be run down, running
by hundreds of millions of people all over the world. Now, we've had a little history lesson this morning from Mr. Verhofstadt, but he made one mistake. In 1973, sir, we did not join the European Union. We joined the European Economic Community. And had the British people known that it was intended to get political and take away our ability to govern ourselves, we never would. Now, I'm sorry to say that the response to the triggering of Article 50 has been all too predictable. Already you've made a series of demands that are not just unreasonable, but in some cases clearly impossible for Britain to comply with. You began by telling us that we have to pay a bill, a cool 52 billion sterling, a figure that has clearly been plucked out of the air, effectively a form of ransom demand. What you could have acknowledged is that we've put net over 200 billion sterling into this project. We're actually shareholders in this building and the rest of the assets, and really, you should be making us an offer we can't refuse to go. And the ever-charming Mr. Verhofstadt, the Parliament's chief negotiator, in his resolution that we're to vote on later today, tells us that we cannot discuss potential trade deals with anybody else in the world until we've left the European Union. That has no basis in treaty law whatsoever. And it's rather like saying you can't guarantee yourself a dwelling for when you leave prison, and I trust the British government will completely ignore you. And of course, Mr. Tusk, who is not with us today, I suspect that he's still crying. He looked pretty tearful, didn't he, after the British ambassador delivered the letter last week. He tells us in his memorandum that any future trade deal must ensure that the United Kingdom is not allowed to have a competitive advantage. This is all impossible, and you add to that the hypocrisy of, on the one hand, saying the EU will negotiate as one, and clause 22 of the Tusk document saying that actually Gibraltar, that the Spanish can have a total veto over the whole trade deal if they're not happy with the sovereignty of Gibraltar. We believe in national self-determination. Your aim and ambition is to destroy nation-state democracy. Gibraltar is clearly a deal-breaker on current terms. You have shown yourselves with these demands to be vindictive, to be nasty. All I can say is thank goodness we're leaving. You're behaving like the mafia. You think we're a hostage. We're not. We're free to go. We're free to go. And 85, and this, now I know, I do understand.
Onorevole Farage.
I do understand.
Onorevole Farage.
Sorry, Mr. Farage. Listen, I'm trying to give you the chance to speak and say everything you want to say. But if you're talking about the mafia, you're saying this Parliament is behaving like the mafia. As far as I'm concerned, that's unacceptable.
No, I do understand. I do understand, sir, Mr. President, I do understand national sensitivities. I'll change it to gangsters. All right? And that is how we're being treated. We're being given a ransom note. But what must be very difficult for all of you to get into your minds is there is a bigger world out there than the European Union. 85% of the global economy is outside the European Union. And if you wish to have no deal, if you wish to force us to walk away from the table, it is not us that will be hurt. Do you know, we don't have to buy German motor cars. We don't have to drink French wine. We don't have to eat Belgian chocolate. There are a lot of other people that will give that to us. A return to tariffs will risk the jobs of hundreds of thousands of people living in the European Union, and yet what you're saying is you want to put the interests of the European Union above that of your citizens and your companies. And if you continue with that route, it won't just be the United Kingdom that triggers Article 50, there'll be many more to come.